stance. Like Trump, love Trump or hate Trump, Trump was
Yeah.
shot, right? That's the thing. But people pick this hill to die on that the bullet didn't actually hit him. Because if the bullet would have hit him, it would have like done this massive damage. But somehow the bullet sheared off a slice of a teleprompter. It like these magic ballistics where the bullet sheared off a slice of teleprompter, didn't destroy
Didn't
the
shatter the
teleprompter, right?
teleprompter, yeah.
Didn't shatter this rigid, plastic and glass thing. Like they were willing to die on this hill that Trump didn't get shot because somehow it bolsters Trump. It like mitigates the assassination attempt if he didn't actually get hit with a bullet, but instead it was a piece of a teleprompter. It's like you guys are lunatics.
Well, you know what?
Well,
One
there's
thing that I think people were
there-
saying that is interesting as someone who like hasn't experienced it, right, is people are like, because now Trump doesn't have the bandage right on the ear, and people are saying, I don't even see anything there. How do you heal up so quick, a man of that age? But which is stuff that you could probably explain, because I'm even seeing headlines from like TMZ, Trump looks uninjured,
Well, so I don't know what the wound care is for. I don't. First off, I don't know exactly what part, like where in the ear it hit. But the ear is primarily cartilage, right? So when people are like he didn't require sutures, I don't think that suturing cartilage. I don't know that you can
Yeah.
suture cartilage. I think it's basically a pack job. I have not seen pictures of what his ear looks like. We all saw the blood. We all saw him react when he got shot, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
We all saw him react. We all saw the blood. And people were like, oh, he had a razor in his. It's like,
Yeah, they were like, because Linda McMahon works so closely with
Yeah,
Trump that he was doing like
exactly.
Vince McMahon WWE stuff, which is just it's
WWE
ridiculous.
shit, yeah.
so I imagined, like, I don't know the size of the wound, and for people who don't understand, like when if you have like a cardboard, or they use it sometimes for targets, really thin plastic, those rounds go through them. When people think of the damage that a high velocity round causes to a human body, they're thinking the effects of cavitation, which is like a shock wave that moves through the fluid parts of the body and causes what we call cavitation, right? And it's very difficult to treat, internal cavitation, things like that. When it comes to something like cartilage or whatever, it's not going to create a very thin surface. It's not going to create that same type of cavitation. It's also why when you see entry wounds, like exit wounds are generally much larger than entry wounds, because the entry wound, like the cavitation, doesn't start right there on the surface where the round hits. Not to mention any tumble that you have or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen the pictures. I, don't know what the wound care is for an ear. I imagine you just pack it, maybe glue it. I'm not sure. I've never been shot in the ear, and I've never treated anybody shot in the ear. But TMZ, they were also the first people to report that it wasn't a bullet, that it was like they have an agenda for
Of
whatever
course.
reason.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
somebody shot at Trump, and somebody, a firefighter died, and other people were wounded, and they're like, well, yes, somebody did attempt to assassinate him.
They didn't even say that at first. They wouldn't even say assassination attempt, which was crazy.
No, the media's response to that. I mean, CNN saying that Secret Service interrupts Trump's speech and takes him off. It's like, you guys are ridiculous. You're ridiculous.
Yeah.
Well, if people aren't seeing that, and that the spin and the agenda's out, I don't know how you're not, especially after that has happened, and even going down even further. Who cares what he got hit with? Somebody tried to kill him.
Right.
Somebody tried to shoot. I mean, shouldn't that be the focal point? Not, hey, did he get hit here? Did he get hit here? And if you want to see what happens when something hits cartilage, get a piece of like our old our old targets we used to shoot when we were in the military, the plastic, real thin targets, and shoot the edge of it, and you'll see what a bullet does to a piece of cart, like the ear.
Yeah.
It's just going to create little, nick it. I think Ben Morgan, when he saw it, he goes, yeah, he got nicked because you can see, but that's it. We call it a nick. It's exactly what it is. But regardless, who gives a shit what he got hit with a bullet or he got hit with a piece of teleprompter? Somebody tried to kill him, and somebody got within 100 yards. I mean, I wish we would have known that when we did our little quick
Sure.
because that's what people are. I don't know if they're skimming it. I don't know if they're not worried about it. That is what is unbelievable to me, is that close. It wasn't like he was a trained sniper, a trained DDM, a trained surveillance. It's a 20-year-old kid that somehow got at the most advantageous position, which the Secret Service or whoever else should have not even just had a sniper up there. You post somebody up there. I've done PSD work enough. I've done enough surveillances. I've done enough advances that I know that if I can't put a guy up there to be a counter sniper, I'm at least going to put somebody up there so they can't put a counter sniper out. I'm going to hold that building. It's just called holding the objective.
Yeah.
And that didn't happen. And people are starting to skim away from that. I think that's still the biggest focal point. And that's where I want to come with you. You are a DDM. You are a sniper. You do overlay cards.
Yeah.
You know how to gauge reference points. You know how to put up danger areas and you know how to put up where you have I forgot. I'm
like
losing my
your
train
fields
of thought.
of fire,
your fields of fire, your
target reference points.
Space.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's where I want to get. Again, shouldn't we be focusing on how the failure was just at that advance and now looking at how bad it was? I don't want to say it was nefarious that somebody purposely overlooked it. And I said that probably wasn't the case, but now as more facts are coming in, like, man, did somebody purposely overlook that for some reason? I want to get your take on the whole beginning before the shooting even happened.
So I think that it's, and I could be proven wrong. I could be proven wrong about this, and I could be proven wrong about not believing that there's a second shooter. But from my take and from what I've seen is that obviously a presidential candidate or a former president does not have a very robust Secret Service package, not compared to the president. And where the shooter was outside of the Secret Service's. It was outside of their area of responsibility, and local PD, whomever that was supposed to have a team on that roof. And the first thing I heard was they were pulled down because it was too hot, so they were inside the building. The second thing I heard,
which by the way, even that is insane.
It's
right?
ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's absolutely ridiculous. The second thing was that a leadership decision was made because the route was too sloped, which is also ridiculous because any sniper, anybody, we've all worked on sloped roofs, right? It's the nature of the game. And so from what I understand, now there are a lot of things that led up to that in the sense of apparently this guy flew a drone overhead and there wasn't an anti-drone package, a counter-drone package. That there were a lot of issues, but for the actual shooting, the reason I don't think it's that there's nefarious or planned is I believe that it was just a lack of professionalism on the part of the PD. I think that Secret Service, if you sort of looked at where they were on the stage, that was off more to the right angle. I think they were kind of focusing, obviously those counter snipers are covering a lot of territory, right? Watching a lot of different things. And if they see movement, now it's 137 meters or whatever it was, it's
130-ish.
Something like that away. And they think that they're not scoping that roof, right? They think PD is on that roof. So if they see movement on that roof, that movement isn't necessarily going to attract their attention if they think PD is up there. The other thing that we've been told now is that there were not comms between the two, which is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
As anybody who's ever worked joint ops before knows, if you can't talk
Yeah.
to the people you're working with, I mean, that's how you get blue on blue. That's how you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, so from what I understand, that it was a lack of it was a lack of understanding between the Secret Service. From what I understand, the Secret Service did their job appropriately within their realm,
Within the
and
perimeter. Yeah, their little security perimeter.
within
Sure.
their perimeter, and the whoever was on this SWAT team that was part of the local PD neglected, was supposed to be on the roof, or at least have that high ground covered, and did not.
Gotcha. And that's, that's perfectly feasible. And I think kind of that's what we, I talked about just in those initial, that really quick thing where I was driving home, where the inner perimeter, and I said the inner perimeter of security, they did all right. They did what they were supposed to. They surrounded Trump. He dropped behind the body armor, and they got him out of there. Their motorcade ops were a little jacked up.
Yeah,
because they need more training. They obviously don't train enough or train at all. But that still got me, was that roof. It was just unbelievable, because I remember running security ops in Baghdad, and running them in Kabul, and running with big security details around the State Department. And that would, to me, it's like, wow, that's a red flag. I'm the detail leader, or I'm the shift leader, or I'm the advanced team leader. That sticks out to me on just an overlay. I'm like, I need somebody right there.
Right.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Because you're thinking on the offense, even though you may be on the defense, you're thinking, where could I best kill the person I'm protecting?
Right.
When you're going out and doing your advanced packet. I don't know if they actually think that way anymore. I don't know. That's where it just befuddles me that it has come down to where it's simple stuff that is one-on-one stuff that we used to know, and we didn't even know what the hell we were doing, that these people 20 years later and all this experience are missing. And I hope you're right, man. I hope it's not nefarious. I hope it's not somebody that just said, "No, we're not going to cover it." And I don't really get the feeling it was, but Jesus, more that comes out is just. Was it that bad tactically? Were they that inept tactically that happened? And that's a possibility too.
It's very
really
damning. I mean, it's very damning, and the fact that I think his dad called in like an hour before.
I did hear about the
called in before and said, "Hey, I think there's a problem." When there's a, and
then also the people on the ground pointing and saying there's a sniper on the roof.
Yes.
How is, and then I actually heard that today when I was driving around. Someone was speaking with Andrew Wilkow. I don't remember who they were, but they were saying, like, with the rules of engagement thing, were they trained not to shoot a sniper on the roof until they started shooting?
No,
I mean,
no, that is not.
Is that false?
That's
right?
That's 100% false for Secret Service. And that might be an issue with local PD, with like local PD rules of engagement. Like, you don't just shoot somebody with a gun.
But no one was allowed. That's what they actually said, was that no one is allowed at these events. Well, with a gun if they're a civilian, but especially no one has a long gun other than Secret Service.
Right.
So if someone has a long gun and they're not Secret Service, that's a problem.
Well, I imagine the local PD, if they have counter snipers, obviously the Secret Service is not a huge organization. So even for the president, a lot of times they rely on a local SWAT team or ESU, like their counter snipers, to cover a lot of territory, especially in a large, wide open space like that. But no, it absolutely would not be a rule of engagement for them not to engage unless a person with a rifle starts shooting. But again, if you're talking about looking to the end of a football field, and if you think that that's local PD, right, and you see somebody over there, one, you may not recognize they have a rifle, and two, even if they do, so what? They're supposed to be there.
Yeah. And if you have no comms to confirm, then
right.
then there goes those 3 seconds that you could have made that determination where the
Right.
shot went off versus, hey man, comms, you got somebody on the roof? No, we don't. Okay, green light, bang.
Right.
Where no comms, you have, and I get that, you have to wait. Comms are so important. People don't realize that the comms secondary plan, we always had a tertiary plan. Shit, if we were working with certain people, we had 5 plans of comms just in case one went down. And that was one thing Ian and I talked about too when we did our little quick after was the comms. I said, I wonder if they had interagency comms. I seriously doubt it. And sounds like you're confirming that. And that makes perfect sense because of the alpha male syndrome where departments don't want to work with each other. They
Right.
don't want to talk to each other.
Well, and
that's it. That's a problem.
That's definitely a gig on the Secret Service in the sense that they should have a whole, they should have a tough box full of,
Yep.
extra comms that they can issue out to the PD so that those comms can be made. Not just like, hey, here's my cell number to like the team leader. We also saw that when they were trying to get out of the rally area over to the objective, over to where the bad guy was, that the fence was all locked up and they had to run a vehicle through it to open it up. It's like, again, this is just piss poor planning.
That's the advance. That's what the advance team is there for. That goes out at least a day. In their case, since we're in a permissive environment, be out there a week before, and you have all those bugs worked out. I can't get. You got a bunch of knuckle draggers with Blackwater going over in 2004. We don't know what the hell we're doing, and we even know that.
Right.
And we're working in a non-permissive environment, still trying to and making sure all those I's are dotted and T's are crossed. But talking to you with this in a more, we beat that up a little bit. I know you talked about the initial cover, which I think we both agree was decent. Yeah, it was all right, that initial cover. You hear the woman in the background. I know some people are beating this up. Said, well, she asked, well, what are we doing? Honestly, guys, her voice inflection, I've done that before, where you get in position and you're ready to go and the leader's not ready to go. So you don't say, hey, what are we doing? As in, I don't know what we're doing. You're like, it's more of, hey, fuck, we got to go. But you say it in a proper way. That's in my opinion, what she was saying. She's like, she's ready. Hey, what are we doing? But yeah, what is your take on the exfil? My opinion was awful. The motorcade op on the exfil was a clown show. But that's my opinion. And having motorcade ops where you've had to do that quickly, a car bomb or a shooter, I think I have a little bit of experience in that. But what was your take on that exfil when they were finally got him out, when they finally got Trump's ass in the car? Said, get your ass in the car, quit jacking around, and they took off. Did you see anything? Do you have anything to say about that?
No, I agree with you about the female agent. That I think people are being really hard on her, saying, "What are we doing?" I think that's a question, especially if she was one of the last people up there or whatever.
Sure.
I don't find somebody saying, "Hey, what are we doing?" to be. Because right now they're waiting, they don't know if the shooter's down. They don't know if the shooter's down because they're probably not going to start their exfil until they get word that the shooter's been. Yep. They don't know how many shooters are out there. If like you say, if the vehicle has not been pulled up yet. And if you have him down on the ground and everybody's covering him, why are you going to get up at that point? If the target, if the shooter hasn't been neutralized, why are you going to give that shooter a second chance?
That's what I heard a lot of people say too, that as much as, Trump supporters in particular for years are going to love this iconic photo of him getting up, going, fight, fight. They're like, that should have never happened.
Dave, are you sitting up there waiting for him to get up to say fight, fight? Not that Dave Parke is ever going to try to assassinate Donald Trump. We're not saying that. But damn, he was a target. I mean, it was cool as shit. Don't get me wrong. That was freaking badass.
Yeah.
Holy shit. If I was under security detail, I would have been pissed.
Yeah,
sure, get you.
yeah, but that also comes to the point of, you know how it is when you're working with a client, like you're trying to do the right thing, but the client is also the boss. And
Yeah.
and if the client says wait, especially somebody as large as Trump, who who you can't just grab by the scruff and like run off with. If somebody says wait, and the thing that people don't understand is Trump was in shock,
Who wouldn't be?
right? Trump was in shock.
Right.
Trump had just been
Yeah.
shot, like the unconscionable, a political assassination. The unconscionable had just been attempted. He had been shot. He's in shock, and you never know how somebody's going to respond when they're in shock. So for him to turn and do what he did, that was how he responded to shock. That was his defiance. His team, can they move him when he's not going anywhere? Probably not.
And it was a pretty, I have to say, I mean, it was a good response, because the media spin before the first debate, when people were saying Biden is mentally and physically incompetent and all that, people on the left were spinning it, oh no, it's Trump that's physically and mentally incompetent. The way he stood right up, like, it kind of disproved all of that.
Oh, it was a baller move. I mean, it was a baller move. And I would say that whether it was Trump, Harris, Biden, like anybody,
absolutely.
anybody who gets shot and then
aside.
stands up and does that, it's a baller move. It's not the smartest move.
Yeah. The other thing that was crazy too is when you were talking about the parents calling in, the fact that we now know from the investigation that the Secret Service, from what we're hearing, was told that there was a threat before they brought Trump out on stage. What the hell was going on there? Because I don't know if you saw, like, at Trump just did the Bitcoin conference in Nashville, which I watched, because if you guys watch the show, I'm a huge Bitcoin guy. And, I wasn't too impressed with his speech. But I bring this up because he came out late. And his first thing when he came to the stage, he's like, I told them, take as much time as you need. He's like, you guys may have seen, I had an incident a couple of weeks ago. I told them, like, take as long as you want.
So, Secret Service just told me, sir, would like a little more time. I said, you take all the time you want. You can take 2 hours, 3 hours, the hell with the people that have been waiting out here, but I'm sure they don't mind either.
So I'm sure he would have been fine if they said, sir, there's a threat, we're going to have to delay this an hour. Why was that not done?
I think part of that, and I've talked to a couple of friends who are like former Secret Service, and part of that is they get so many threats that if they don't know the actual nature of the threat, like no president would ever have a rally or a speech. Like there are so many threats, and not all of them are legitimate threats.
Of course.
And so it wasn't that, I don't know that this kid said, hey, I'm going to go kill, Trump. I think his dad was just like, hey, something's going on and it's weird. And I don't know that the Secret Service was clued into it, or if it was the local law enforcement that was clued into it. Like, I don't know. I don't know. Now, but what you say is accurate in the sense of the police were aware that there was a potential threat out there. People had reported on it there. And probably had they had comms with the Secret Service and given them the specifics, not just because from what I heard, Secret Service got a message from the PD that, hey, we're working an issue. But what does that mean? What does that mean?
I guess we forgot about the old salute reports. Keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah.
Size, activity, location, unit, top troops, and equipment.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's the basic stuff that have been from World War II that still works, that people are failing to do. Yeah. And then when you fail and you don't throw on your IT advantage on top of it with UAVs and having, you're right, a box of comms, which when I worked stateside, we always had. I ran a detail for Eric Prince for a year, and we always had, go get Motorola. They don't have to be encrypted.
Right.
Go get some Motorola's at Radio Shack, and that's all you freaking need that go 300 meters. And we had a box. I'm glad you said that because that is so spot on. They usually didn't, so we would hand out those Motorola's to whoever we were coordinating with, even if it was local PD. And if we didn't get them back, so what? We're out $20.
Right.
But because it wasn't overseas, we did need them encrypted, and we're just doing line of sight talk. And dude, that's huge. Communication. Don't realize how important that is in security work or direct action work. So you don't have a failure like this, which could have been a success. Even with all the piss poor planning, it could have been successful just by having proper communication and being a couple seconds ahead of the ball game.
And and people, I don't know if people realize how close Trump was to actually being assassinated on live TV, because
insanely close.
So one of the things is, as a sniper, you never aim for the head. The only time you aim for the head is when there's a hostage situation and you're going for what we call flaccid paralysis, right? You're trying to hit this fatal T that basically turns a person into jelly, so that if they've got a gun to somebody's head, their neurons don't fire, and they, even when you're killing them, even if they're dead, it shuts down the body. Fortunately, and the reason you don't aim for the head is because the head moves so much. And this is what we saw. We saw Trump looking left, looking right, and it was him turning his head that saved his life.
Yeah, it was him pointing to a chart.
Right.
Yeah.
That saved his life. If the kid would have been trained and would have gone for, either, the notch, like is a thoracic notch, or the chest, then it would have been a completely different story, because these areas don't move like that. So it's wild how close. We can joke about it now, and people can say stuff and whatever, but it really was just luck, pure luck, that Trump was moving his head.
Thanks for checking out Battle Line Podcast. This is just a smaller clip from our latest episode, which you can check out in its entirety by clicking here. While you're watching, be sure to hit the subscribe button and thumbs up the video to show your support. Now, if you'd really like to help us out, click the thanks button below to make a donation. It goes directly to us in keeping Battle Line Podcast going for you.